Hi, 8 steps to analyze CAT mock. So once you've written the mock, how do you analyze it? So that you get the best benefit of it. We know that writing mocks is one of the most important steps to prepare for CAT, but only writing mock without analysis will not help. So I put this down, 8 steps to analyze the CAT mock. What is required once you write a mock? That should help you to analyze the mock effectively. Okay, first, we've been training students for more than 23 years, so fairly comfortable with the exam and how to go about cracking it. Currently, the courses for CAT that we have is CAT Crash Course, CAT Mentorship, 100% batch, DLR 1000 and Con 1000. If you're interested, you can contact us. The first step, first is solve all the questions that you've unattempted. You've gone to the paper, you've written the mock, but there will be few questions you've not solved. So solve the unattempted questions. Okay, need not put a timer for it, but try to go through the questions and try to figure out how many you can solve more. So go through. Also, as in when you solve, mark them as easy, medium, tough. It is very important to know which questions are easy, which questions are medium, which questions are tough in the exam. And you can make out, maybe once you've written down and looked at the solution, you can make out whether this question was easy, medium, tough. And then try to figure out whether you were able to select them or not select them. But as in when you solve right now in step 1, when you've gone through the solutions, mark them. Okay, this question was easy or medium or tough. Also, once you analyze this question which are unattempted, and if you could solve more questions by chance, you've gone to the paper afterwards and you could solve more questions. So identify difficulty of the problem. Did you miss out on easy questions? Okay, or what it is, and why were you not able to solve these sums in the examination? Was it stress, or were you not able to identify the questions? Find out. That's the reason why people were not able to solve question in the exam, which they could normally solve, is 2 reasons. Either at that point of time, for whatever reason, either for stress, they could not think, or they read the sum and they realized, okay, maybe this question is tough and I should not solve it. Both cases, try to identify what is the case and note it down. You should know your problem so that you can solve it accordingly. Second step, go through the questions that you went wrong. Now you've gone to unattempted questions, now go to the questions you went wrong. Okay, write it down in a book. Okay, and write down the cause of a mistake. Again, the way to improve your mistakes is to know where you're making mistakes. So write down, why are you making mistakes? Are you not reading the question properly? Not able to comprehend the question properly? Calculation mistake? Whatever reason, note it down in a book, your mistakes. Okay, so once you write, over a period of time, you will realize what are the common mistakes that you do, and that will help you to overcome. Knowing it itself will help you overcome it. Okay, again, once you're solving the question, mark them as easy, medium, tough. This should be done for every question that you solve after the mock, so that you are aware about how easy or medium or difficult tough sums are. Because one of the most important part of cracking the CAT examination is the ability to identify difficulty of sum. So you can leave the tough sums quickly and solve the easy ones. Also, third step, go to the question that you get correct. A lot of people miss this, but this is also an important step, because in the actual exam, you're going to solve these questions which you got correct in the exam. So that means going through it will help you reinforce it. Also, try to see if there are better methods or faster methods to solve, because if you can solve, if you can save time on these sums, you'll be able to solve more sums. Whether it's sums, it's DLR sets, or whichever it is, try to go back and see if you can save time. Okay, in the exam, if you're going to spend time on these sums, it makes sense to focus and try to be better at it. Also, same thing, mark them as easy, medium, tough once you have gone through the sum as such. Fourth sum, calculate total time spent on the question you got correct, got wrong, and left. Now you've already gone through those questions, you know the time you spent on each questions. Add the times and note down, okay, this is the time I've spent on going correct, on wrong, left. Ideally, the time you spend on correct should be high. The time you spend on question left should be low. Left is someone which you did not get the answer and you wasted time. So learn to leave questions quickly as possible, difficult questions which you're not able to solve. So this will help you understand where you spend time. So if you realize that, oh, you're spending a lot of time on questions you're leaving, that means you need to look at how can I use less time on questions that you leave. Or if you're spending a lot of time that you're going wrong, check out how can I go about reducing that. Okay, so you get a fair idea about the time that you spend, what is the productive time that you spend in the examination. Helps. Check if the selection of question was correct. Once you've finished all the analysis, go back, check whatever questions that you selected, were they easy or were they tough. So yeah, that is important because actual exam you need to be able to select the easy question and solve. Okay, ensure that did you spend enough time on tough questions. Ideally you should not spend, but if you have spend time on tough questions, realize how can you reduce the time spent on tough questions. Okay, or did you skip any easy questions? I mean, how would you identify these easy questions in the examination? So if there is too many questions of these type, then try to modify the way you select questions. Okay, you need to be able to constantly modify. Sometimes maybe you leave questions based on topic, or maybe you leave questions based on length, or maybe you leave whatever basis, and see if those methods are effective. If those methods are not effective, you need to modify it. As a matter of fact, make a note on how do you select questions. Make it for each of the maybe RCs, maybe DLR sets, maybe con questions. Make notes of your selection process for the question. Once you have done, then strategy. Strategy plays an important role in the examination. You can have a one-round strategy where you try to solve as and when you go to the question. You can have two-round strategy. You solve one round, finish, and then come back and solve a second round. Three-round strategy, maybe even four-round strategy. Three-round strategy is maybe in the first round you may just glance to the questions, or first round you may only solve the easy ones. Then you come back to the medium ones. Come back to the tough ones. So check out what is the strategy that you're using. Okay. Also, what is the strategy to select a question? Not only strategy to solve the mock, but how do you select a question based on the length, based on a topic. What is the strategy you use to select a question? Okay, and how much time you spend on leaving a question. For example, maybe in DLR I spend 2 minutes before I decide that question is tough and leave it, or maybe whatever time I leave. So find out what is the time you do. You need to have a strategy in place. Okay. Also, the way you approach a question. Okay, should I read slow? Should I read fast? Some people look at a question and then solve the passage. Some of them read the passage slowly and then go to, or read a passage fast and then solve. Look at how have you experimented, what worked, what did not work. Okay, so you should note down what of this, whichever strategy has worked, what did not work. So you're aware about the correct strategy that suits you basically. Next, whatever analysis that you have done, make a book and write it down. People analyze but don't write, because in closer when you come to the examination, you have forgotten almost all that has happened in the past. If you have something written down, you can go back and check those steps and be aware about it, because people tend to repeat the same mistakes. So if you're aware, okay, at that point of time I did this particular mistake, I can be aware about it and not repeat that in the examination. So make a 2 to 4 page per mock, analysis of per mock, which will include your strategy, which will include your analysis for mistakes that you have done, why, what for. It could include important questions that you feel is there in the examination. Okay. Also make an Excel, in that whole 2 to 4 page, also make an Excel sheet, or maybe separate, on attempts, score, percentile, etc. for each of the mocks that you have written, and so you can track your progress over a period of time and know how are you progressing. Right? This will also help you before the examination. Whatever analysis you do will help you before the exam, because then you will come to know what mistakes you normally commit. Last, identify areas that you need to prepare. Now you've written a mock, it will be still a time. Don't write mock immediately one after the other. Identify, oh, these are my weak areas, I need to work on that. So which areas to focus, which areas to leave. There could be some areas you feel, oh, I'll leave this question because it's not getting through, or I'm comfortable with these areas, I'll not focus on these. So which areas you to focus or not. Also look at your study plan. Do you need to modify your study plan? You made a plan, you study regularly every day. Maybe I solve 10 questions on max. Maybe I should increase the 15 questions on max because I'm not able to get, reduce DLR and spend more on max. Modify your study plan based on your performance in your mock. Okay. And also write down the strategy that you plan to use for the next one. Fine. So if you use this 8-step strategy, it will help you to analyze your mock better. So try to analyze a mock, make a write-up, and that should hopefully help you to improve your scores over a period of time in your mocks. Thank you.